So session 4 of series 2 of Who on Earth Was Jesus. Today I'm looking at the time when Jesus was at the Festival of Dedication in Jerusalem. He was in the temple and people were gathered around him and they were asking him, "Come on, don't keep us in suspense. Are you the Messiah or not? Tell us plainly." And Jesus said, "Well, I have told you, but you haven't believed." Now, it wasn't that Jesus had openly said to them, "Look, I'm the Messiah." But they should have been able to work it out by all the things that he'd been doing. All the evidence should have pointed to them he was the Messiah. And so Jesus gives a reason why they failed to believe. And this is interesting. He said, "It's because you are not one of my sheep." Now that can sound a bit exclusivist. You're not one of us. But we need to put it in context of what is said before this incident. Jesus talks of himself as being the good shepherd, or the real shepherd. Now in those days, the shepherd spent all day with the sheep, and so they got to know them. Which ones were lazy, which ones were likely to cause trouble, and so on. But more important, the sheep knew their shepherd. They didn't leave the sheep out in the paddock like we do and check on them from time to time. They were with them all the time, and they would constantly keep moving on to find food. And so the task of the shepherd was to keep them moving, and he did this by calling. And you can still see this today. The shepherds, and they're often quite young children, are out with the flock on the hillside, and you'll hear them every minute or so. They will just call. And the sheep know to follow that voice, because by following the voice, they know they will find food and, if needed, water. And then at night, a few flocks would be herded together in a fold for protection, and one shepherd take his turn to sleep across the doorway to guard them. And it meant, though, that in the morning, they didn't have to have a big sorting out of whose sheep were whose. The shepherd simply had to call. The sheep knew the voice of their shepherd, and so they'd come out and follow him. So what it boils down to is relationship, knowing. You see, we can learn all the facts about Jesus. We might even do a theology degree and learn all about the theology of how God can be, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But if we don't have relationship with Jesus, we cannot truly understand who he is. Head knowledge is not enough. We need that heart knowledge. The people who got to understand Jesus best while he was on earth were his disciples. And that's because they spent every hour of every day with him. They got to know him so well. Even Judas, who ended up betraying him, we don't know his real motivation for his betrayal, but it's very possible that as he got to know more and more of who Jesus was, he began to think that this is not what he signed up for in the first place. Relationship. We need to know the shepherd's voice, to listen to him, and to follow where he leads. And that's the only way that we'll truly learn who Jesus is.
I want to know you, Lord, I must know you. I want to be found in you. I want to be clothed in your truth. So I fix my